Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the story of America's most famous secret, Area 51. It's a place that started out with a really specific job, building spy planes. But somehow, it became the absolute epicenter of our modern alien mythology. You see, for decades now, Area 51 has been living this strange double life. In the popular imagination, you've got the myth, a secret lab filled with crashed UFOs. But then you have the reality, a very real, now declassified, military base with a critical Cold War mission. Our goal today is to pull these two stories apart and see how one became the other. And this whole journey really unfolds in three main acts. First, its secret birth during the Cold War. Then, the moment in 1989 when it just exploded into pop culture as the alien place. And finally, its pretty shocking arrival in the halls of the U.S. Congress. So here's how we're going to break it all down, from a patch of desert nobody knew about to a topic of serious national debate. Let's jump in, right at the very beginning. So, what even is Area 51? Well, long before all the myths and legends, it was just a name on a map for a super remote, dry salt flat in the Nevada desert called Groom Lake. I mean, it was the perfect place to hide something you didn't want the world to see. Okay, let's rewind the clock to the 1950s. The Cold War is raging, and there's this constant, gnawing fear of a surprise attack from the Soviet Union. The U.S. government knew it needed some kind of radical, game-changing advantage. And this worry went all the way to the top. President Eisenhower knew America was basically flying blind. They had no idea what the Soviets were building. They needed eyes in the sky, and they needed them like yesterday. So, the solution was a top-secret program to build a totally revolutionary kind of spy plane. The program was called Aquatone. The plane itself was the U-2, and a project that secret needed a location that was just as secret. And just like that, Area 51 was born. And out of this completely desolate base, which, and you gotta love this, the engineers ironically nicknamed Paradise Ranch to try and convince people to work there, came some of the most advanced aircraft in history. We're talking planes designed to fly higher and faster than anything anyone had ever seen before, all under a complete cloak of secrecy. But here's the thing about all that intense secrecy. It had a completely unintended side effect. One that would spark a myth that would come to define the base forever. Okay, get this. The U-2 spy plane flew at an altitude of over 65,000 feet. We're talking more than 12 miles straight up in the air. At the time, it was science fiction. So try to put yourself in the shoes of an airline pilot back in the late 1950s. You're flying along at dusk at what you think is the ceiling for any plane, and you look up and you see these strange, fiery-looking objects way, way above you. You have no idea what they could be. So you do what you're supposed to do. You report an unidentified flying object, a UFO. Well, the government was in a real bind, right? They couldn't just say, oh yeah, that's just our top-secret spy plane, nothing to see here. So to protect the U-2 program, the Air Force officially explained all these sightings away as, weather phenomena. But what that did was create this huge information vacuum. And nature abhors a vacuum. The public rushed in to fill it with a much more exciting theory: aliens. Okay, now let's fast forward to 1989, because this is the moment the story just absolutely explodes into the modern myth we all know today. And it's pretty much all thanks to one man and his incredible claims. So this guy, Bob Lazar, goes on a local Las Vegas TV station and drops an absolute bombshell. He says he's a physicist, and he claims he worked at a secret base near Area 51 on 9 captured alien spacecraft, trying to figure out how they worked. And this, right here, this really gets to the core of the whole Bob Lazar puzzle. On one hand, you have his claims, which are incredibly detailed. He talks about working at a facility called S4 and this mysterious power source called Element 115. But on the other hand, investigators have tried and failed to find any verifiable records of his employment or even his education at the schools he named. And that conflict between his really compelling story and the complete lack of a paper trail is exactly why people are still fiercely debating him today. For decades, this whole debate was kind of stuck in the world of folklore and late-night talk shows. But then, in 2023, the whole conversation took a stunning turn. The subject was brought out of the shadows and into a formal hearing in the U.S. Congress. The first major voice was Commander David Fravor, a highly decorated U.S. Navy fighter pilot. He described this bizarre encounter his squadron had in 2004 with an object that moved in ways that, well, just seemed to defy the known laws of physics. And the second voice was David Grush. Now, this isn't just some random person. He's a former high-level intelligence officer turned whistleblower. And he testified under oath about these alleged secret government programs that he claims have recovered and are trying to reverse engineer craft of non-human origin. Well, these testimonies were just stunning, and they prompted these passionate calls for transparency from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. They were frustrated. Suddenly, this wasn't a fringe hobby anymore. It was a serious matter of government accountability. And this is the most crucial point. The whole conversation has fundamentally shifted. It's not really just about are aliens real anymore. The official focus now is on what they call UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. The questions being asked in Congress are about national security. What are these things? Do they pose a risk to our pilots? And why has there been so much secrecy for all these decades? So that brings us right up to today. The story of Area 51 has gone through this absolutely remarkable transformation, from a place nobody had even heard of to a place that everyone, including Congress, is asking questions about. You can really see the whole journey laid out right here. It started as a government secret that was created to protect its technology. And now it's become a secret the government is being pressured by its own people to finally reveal. All right, so if you take anything away from all this, it's these four things. First, the original secrecy around the spy planes is what unintentionally created the UFO myth. Second, Bob Lazar's wild story is what permanently welded Area 51 to aliens in our collective imagination. Third, today's conversation is totally different. It's being driven by credible military witnesses, and it's all about national security. And finally, the number one demand right now is simple: government transparency about what's going on in our skies. Which leaves us with one last big provocative thought. We basically know the original secret of Area 51 now. It was for spy planes. But everything that's happening with these congressional hearings and military testimonies, it suggests a whole new chapter of this story is just getting started, shifting the real mystery from the desert floor to the skies high above it.